There are many different types of cult flicks, and occasionally there is a heated discussion about their status. However, true and possessive devotion is the norm for such films. In today's video, we pay homage to those odd, indie, surreal, and strange cult flicks that, despite having modest or unnoticed beginnings, became well known thanks to the support of their fervent followings. Keep watching this video. Number 1. Escape from New York. In this film, the president's jet is hijacked by terrorists while it is en route to an international peace meeting in Hartford, Connecticut. The POTUS, Donald Pleasence, is fortunate to escape in an escape pod. However, it's awful that the pod crashes in Manhattan. In this dystopian vision of America, Manhattan has been turned into an open prison. A 50-foot-high wall encloses the island, and the bridges are covered in mines. The inmates here are given what you would call a life sentence and have become rogue. Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell, a disgraced former special operations soldier who was convicted of robbing the Federal Reserve and sports a mean eye patch, is tasked with rescuing the president. In exchange for saving the president, the government grants Snake a pardon, but to prevent him from getting into any mischief, they poke him with a needle and inject him with micro-explosives that will go off in less than 24 hours if he doesn't succeed. Number 2. The Wicker Man. The Wicker Man is part of a long tradition of horror films that pulls the rug out from under their audience. It is a cult classic in every sense of the word and should not be confused with the remake starring Nicolas Cage, which is iconic for a totally different reason. A strict, fervently Christian police sergeant reserving himself for marriage, Neil Howie, played by Edward Woodward, would come off as a massive turnoff. On a Scottish isle where Celtic gods are revered, ale flows freely, and immorality is heavily promoted. But while Sergeant Howie diligently looks for a missing local girl on the island, the islanders' casual demeanor gives way to something much more sinister. The fact that first-time director Robin Hardy creates an unsettling atmosphere with pagan imagery and switches your allegiances to the most bland protagonist imaginable accounts for a large part of The Wicker Man's slow burn charm. The Wicker Man establishes itself as one of the greatest examples of the genre by the time the real Wicker Man enters the picture for a frightening conclusion. Number 3. The Man Who Fell to Earth. A true cult film is more than just a crowd pleaser. It's hard to watch, frustrating, and downright chilling. So it was with Nicolas Roeg's uncompromising science fiction classic from 1976, which starred a flame-haired David Bowie and was described in reviews as preposterous and posturing, or mad and brilliantly infuriating. Long, spooky, unsettlingly sexy, perplexing to many, and fiercely adored by those who persevere through it, The Man Who Fell to Earth is all of those things. In his eulogy for Roeg in 2018, The Ringer's own Adam Naiman described the atmosphere as hazy and medicated, adding that every so often, images emerge from the fog to shock and startle. It will give you the world if you give it your whole attention, because there are no substitutes for David Bowie in the movies. Number 4. Ghost World. In this movie, Enid isn't interested in attending college. She is unwilling to work, and she even opposes her father's reconciliation with Maxine. She doesn't really know what she wants when she looks out into the world after graduating from college. Rather, the stress of trying to make a decision irritates her. It makes sense that Terry Zwigoff's comedy from 2001 has become a cult favorite. Enid wears a stunning new fit in almost every scene, and the set designs, audio, performances, and actors all deliver top-notch work on what appears to be a tight budget. But the movie's time machine vibe extends beyond its looks. Instead of a stoic call to arms, this book's depiction of the widespread negatives and discontentment of the early 2000s is more like a long, drawn-out, over-dramatic sigh. Number 5. Kids. Early in his 50s, Larry Clark started learning how to skate, and with his series on drug use and and sex work already making him a well-known but contentious photographer, Clark had his sights set on directing his debut movie. But for it to feel genuine, he needed it. So, towards the start of the 1990s, he spent a few years hanging around in New York City's expanding skate scene. He observed how the youngsters behaved and dressed. He observed them fighting and using drugs, and he sought to comprehend them. The ensuing movie, Kids, may not have done exactly that, but it sure scared the living daylights out of parents and gave a generation of kids the impression that someone was listening to them. Kids centers on a group of New York teenagers for 24 hours during the height of the AIDS crisis and was first released in 1995, 1 week after Clueless. The script, which Clark says took him 3 weeks to create, was written by a 19-year-old named Harmony Korine, and a bunch of mostly unknown actors were cast as the stars. The closest thing Kids had to stars were the skaters Justin Pierce and Harold Hunter, but the two female roles, Chloe Sevigny and Rosario Dawson, would soon become well known later on in their careers. Kids has a documentary-like atmosphere as it depicts underage sex, including drug use, and violence. Some criticized it as being little more than filth. However, it was crucial for youngsters who were enamored with rap music and skating as they approached adulthood. Number 6. Lahan. In this movie, 3 residents are followed in the 24-hour period following a violent altercation with the police that left their friend Abdel in critical condition in Matthew Katsowitz's black and white portrait of a Paris banlieue. These residents are Saad, a North African ladies' man, Hubert, a boxer, and Vinz, a hot-headed Jew who dreams of going full-on taxi driver on a cop. A straightforward, intimidating issue arises as their day progresses, and story details are revealed to the audience. What happens when 3 men on the verge of homicide obtain a police officer's .44 Magnum revolver? The final response provides an objective perspective on systematic racism, police brutality, and the hatred that swept across impoverished French neighborhoods in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Lahan's 1995 Cannes debut received a standing ovation from the crowd, and the country's then prime minister decided to make his whole cabinet watch it as a result of the film's success. Even in its sparse political undertones, the movie seems eerily prophetic now, 26 years later. In one scenario, Saad reads aloud a disparaging poem about Jean-Marie Le Pen, a far-right politician who made his name by stirring up fear of immigration during the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. Years later, his daughter Marine reappeared to carry on his legacy, repurposing the same xenophobia for the digital era. Lahan reminds us that their policies always foster inhumanity, regardless of how they are presented. Number 7. Harold and Maude. The idea that watching Harold and Maude can alter your life is not absurd. The movie appears on paper to be a dark romantic comedy about a 20-year-old kid who is obsessed with suicide and a 79-year-old woman who lives every day as if it's her last. But it goes much deeper than that. The film Harold and Maude is an ode to life. Hal Ashby, the director, believes that in order to truly embrace life and appreciate its freedom, societal norms like age and gender must be eliminated. It is as though you are witnessing a dream that is personally addressing you and pleading with you to realize that life is worth living, but in whichever way you feel most true. Harold and Maude is a classic example of the odd or campy cult movie, but the attraction extends further. Instead of continuing, you can check out some Cat Stevens lyrics that are present throughout the film. Number 8. Akira. It took many fans around 10 years to fully comprehend the existential drama Akira, a hideous masterpiece by Katsuhiro Otomo. Its post-World War II Japanese history was recreated as a cyberpunk pleasure, yet it's more contemplative and somber than its more overtly violent and splashy parts may imply. Tetsuo, a gang leader in Neo Tokyo, and his best buddy Kaneda accidentally run into a paranormal paranormal research project being conducted by the Japan Self-Defense Forces, giving Tetsuo psychokinetic abilities. The culmination of Tetsuo's awakening is his traumatic self-destruction, which also brings down the city. Akira paints a picture of a society on the verge of disintegration after a prior collapse. Number 9. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Terry Gilliam films are experiences all on their own. The former member of Monty Python has a talent for producing films with a lot of flavors. You wouldn't necessarily expect the resulting film to succeed if themes of grotesqueness, wonder, beauty, profundity, fury, and nihilism were combined. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is arguably the best illustration of how Gilliam pulls it off. The film, based on the same titled novel by Hunter S. Thompson, published in 1971, isn't the greatest of cult flicks we've seen. However, Del Toro's Dr. Gonzo and Johnny Depp's Raoul's evil drug-addled vacation to Las Vegas take a turn for the worse at least 3 times, each time becoming slightly more horrible. Number 10. Scarface. Rounding up our list of indie cult flicks is none other than Brian De Palma's Scarface. The film stars the extremely talented Al Pacino, who plays the role of Tony Montana, who is probably the most popular bad guy in the world. Montana is a Cuban refugee who lands in Miami in search of a better, more prosperous life. He doesn't arrive in Miami alone, as he is accompanied by his best friend, Manolo. Right from the refugee camp, both men already dive into a life of crime, as they kill Emilio Rebenga in order to secure green cards from the drug dealer that hired them to pull off the hit. From there, Montana goes on to become a big-time drug dealer. However, after messing with Alejandro Sosa, he meets his end in a barrage of machine gun bullets. This movie had such a great cult following that it was referenced in so many rap songs from the 90s. So guys, which of these cult flicks is your favorite? Let us have your thoughts in the comment section. And if you enjoyed watching this video, give it a like and share so that your pals can watch it too. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tap the notification bell to keep getting more interesting content like this. Thanks for watching.